session is entitled Introduction to Leica Captivate, and it will cover the overall structure of Leica Captivate software and its data management tools. We'll also cover the import and usage of design data, such as surfaces, DTMs, alignments, and as well as the utilization of reference files, such as DXF, DWG, DGN, IFC models, etc. So let's get started with session number 1, Introduction to Captivate. Please feel free to type questions into the chat. If we have time at the end, we'll try to answer some of them. If we don't get to your question tonight, we'll get back to you with a response. But we're trying to keep these relatively short. This one may go 30 to 45 minutes, and subsequent ones might be shorter if they cover shorter apps. But at any rate, I'll turn things over to Pierre for the presentation. Pierre, you're on.
I'm on. You should see my screen.
Yep, I do.
Perfect. Thank you, Brad. So good evening, everyone. Like Brad mentioned, my name is Pierre Labbé, and I'm the technical support and training manager for the survey division. So some of you might have talked to me or see me at some point in time. And today I'll go over Leica Captivate, the basic of Captivate. Like you can see, I got kind of a brief agenda of what I want to cover. The home screen, the icons, the jobs carousel, the app carousel, the hotkeys and favorite. And some of you might be familiar with many of those. I'll also introduce some improvement that were made in the last few Captivate version. So like I like to say when I train customer, even if you are an experienced users, there's always tips and tricks to learn. And who knows, sometimes just one little trick, or tips, might help you a lot in your day-to-day task. I'll go over the job creation, the management, the concept of sites in Captivate, the link job, the link design data reference file. I'll talk also about some data management, filtering, copying, importing point, exporting point, and viewing its data. Okay. So let me switch, and I'll do all that using my Captivate simulator. So let me just turn this page off. Here you go. So you should see my Captivate simulator. So to start with the, I'll turn off my camera also, just for the bandwidth. So to start with, Leica Captivate, the home page, the icons on top. I'll go through them quickly. Most of you know them. I'll talk about the job carousel and a few tips and tricks, to be more efficient with it. One thing about the job carousel, you can add jobs on and on the job carousel, and it can become painful to scroll to the job. So there's a lot of features that were added through the Captivate version to improve working with the job carousel, and of course the application carousel at the bottom. But the icon by themselves, I'm currently connected to a total station. So I'm inside. It's a lot easier for me to be connected to a total station than trying to connect with the GNSS antenna outside tracking satellite. So that's why you see I'm on the total station side. And those icons on top, again, they vary if you're connected to a total station or GNSS. On the total station side, of course, you got the aim and search, and you got a few quick tools to quickly tell the instrument to do a task regarding robotic. So how you want to measure to prism, the power source filter. So again, those are easily accessible. I'll talk about hotkey and favorite later. We can set some hotkey and favorite to do some robotic tasks quickly, but you already have a few of them under the aim and search icon. Of course, the measure and target, that's a quick way to change your target type if you want to switch from between a circular prism and a 360 prism. If you want to switch to measure to any surface, to measure to a prism, or to measure a single measurement or be in continuous mode. So the one here in the group that use robotic total station should be familiar with those tools. Then we have the instrument icon. That one is not used as much. There's a few good tips that or ways it could be used. You can review your current setup right from here. If you need to know, you want to know your current setup, you want to know your setup scale factor, you can review it quickly underneath that current setup. Another nice one, you can easily have the instrument quickly turn to a specific angle. Robotic mode, if you're in stakeout and you're staking out a point with 0 elevation, the instrument might point to the ground, you know, if you ask the instrument to turn in 3D to a stakeout point. And then remotely, you may want the instrument to try to find you using the power surge, but it's looking either down or up. This tool here, you know, you can put 90 degree and press OK. This will set the vertical angle to 90 degree and it will start searching for you. So this could be really useful to tell the instrument to turn quickly vertically or horizontally. So I use that one once in a while, and you got the phase 1 and phase 2, and you can check your bubble. So horizontal, vertical, it's always there, and you can just change the display. And you got the @ symbol for internet connection and tools related to internet. So you can check the status of your internet connection. You can check the status of your Bluetooth connection, and you can also look at some cloud services. Okay, there's multiple cloud services. There's one that I will demonstrate briefly later, the latest cloud services that we have, and it's GeoCloud Drive. So I'll briefly talk about it, but this is what we trying to show customers that want to be able to easily, quickly send file back and forth from office to field and field to office. This is a cloud service, and it's allowing to share data easily between user to the office or to the field. I'll do a brief demonstration on it. It's called GeoCloud Drive. And of course, you got the battery icon on the upper right corner. And then you got access to camera, sketchpad. You can change your instrument mode, check the battery, go back to the home screen quickly. So that's for the icon on the total station side. If I go quickly on the GNSS side, again, it's almost the same, except, you know, GNSS, you got your current position, northing, easting, and height. Satellite, of course, you can view where are the satellite in the sky. You can view some information on the data logging if you're recording raw data. So that could be a good one if you're recording raw data for post-processing and want to make sure you're recording raw data, to check into the status of the data logging. And you got your RTK data link. Right now I'm configured to use a cell phone connection. So there's a cell phone here, or my SIM card, or it could be a UHF radio icon. And we got a few tools here to connect, to start the RTK stream or change the RTK profile quickly. So, and then the 2D, 1D, the antenna height, 3D, and the internet connection. So those, I won't spend too much time on it. I'll go back. I just wanted to review them briefly. So make sure everyone is aware of all of those icons and what they do on top of the screen. So before I go to the job carousel, the app carousel, again, there's not much to say about it other than there's a huge list of application, and you're probably not using all of them. So you can easily pick any one of them. If you don't want to see them, if you don't use measure sets for set of angle, you can push them a few seconds, push on it a few seconds on the screen, and you can hide those. So you can clean your carousel to only show the app that you're using on a daily basis. So it makes it a lot easier to go through, and you don't have to scroll all the way to the end. The other thing, you can move them. If you push on an app, you can change their location. So you want to have the most popular app that you're using on a day-to-day to be in the first few ones, so you don't have to scroll. So that's another thing. So you move them around and you can hide them quickly. To get them back, if you're looking for an app and you don't see it on the carousel, you'll need to go into your settings, and you'll need to go under the customization of Captivate. And under the customization, there's a few options how you want to customize Captivate. One of it is the app visibility. From here, you can see all your app. You can easily here turn off app easily and quickly. And if I want to get back my measure set, it's currently hidden. If I click on it, now it's back on. So you can turn app on and off quickly from here. You can move app here if you want to, the Kogo, you want to move it down. So you can move it up or move it down. So you can move your app up and down and customize them from the app visibility. So that's for the app carousel. Most of the app, when you install Captivate, they all the app coming from Europe are installed automatically. There is some local app that are not installed automatically that you can go on Leica My World and download them to install them. I got a few that you don't have normally. There's a measurement style app that's been developed for the North America market. There's a field book app that's been developed for the North America market. There's a quick stake app. So there's a few of those apps that were developed specifically for the North America market that could be very useful, that you might not be aware that they exist. If you go on your Leica My World account and you go under a CS20 and you look under the local app available for a CS20, you'll see a list of local application developed worldwide, and you can pick any one of them and download them. Most of them, you got a trial period, so you can give it a try and see if it worked, to get that app. So, but that's about it for the app by themselves. So now the job carousel. There's more to say about the job carousel. Job carousel, again, you can scroll around and you can have a lot of job being visible. First of all, you got the job management in the lower right corner that you can access easily, and you can turn on and off the visibility of some jobs. So here I got more job in my internal memory than the one being displayed on my job carousel. I try to keep my job carousel to the minimum, but if I want to, but I don't want to delete all my job from my controller. I may want to use a job in a week or two, so I don't want to delete it, but it's hidden. So some of the job, like if I pick just job as an example, the state here, it says hidden. If I change the state to be visible, press OK. That job now, it's right there and it's visible. So, so it's nice and easy to clean your job carousel. Go back to job, and I want to put that one hidden. So, and you can do that as a group to hide or to make visible a group of jobs. That's job management, lower right corner. Then something that you also might have seen, or not might have seen, you've seen it. On the left side, you have a page called Tap here to choose design data. and tap here to create new job. I'll come back to create new job. But before I go into the new job creation, the design data. So design data, I know it can bring a lot of confusion. We get technical support calls on a regular basis. Customer calling us and telling us that they are working in a job, they are trying to do some stakeout, but the point they see on the screen are not the one of their current job that they would like to stake out. So they see points from a different job in a stakeout application, stake point, stake to line. And the reason for it, like 99% of the time, it's that under the design data, there's a point and line job that is being selected, and the point that they see on the map for stakeout, or the point from the job selected here. So design data, it's a job that contains points and lines for stakeout. Design data can be a DTM job, can be a road job, a rail job, tunnel job. But the one that we hear a lot from customer, it's this points and line, it's check. And now it's going to use Leica 1950. That's my design data job. And if my today's job, it's September 2nd, and I go to stakeout point, the point that will be available to me to stake out are going to be the point from the job 1950. What can we do to minimize and avoid that confusion? There's one settings that I always tell customer to do at first with their controller regarding design data. If you go and tap here to choose design data, I'll uncheck it. And I don't want anything to be checked by default. And one thing that you should be aware within Leica Captivate, in all of our app, if you want to look at application specific settings, you press the green function button on your keyboard. If I got the controller here, you got the green function button, and as soon as you do the function button, F1 will be settings. So it's consistent throughout all of our application. If there's some specific settings for specific application, that's where you'll find them. So for the design data function settings, there's only one settings. Choose design data when starting an app that use design data. I always suggest customer to check that settings. It is not by default. So, and what it does, if this box is checked, every time, if I got my job September 2nd, every time that I enter an app to do some stakeout that might require design data, the first page, it will prompt me to choose my design data. So by default, it will take the design data, the point I want to stake out from my working job by default, unless I check the box and I manually select a different job to grab the point from a different job. But by adding that setting check within the choose design data function settings, you'll always be prompt. If you go to stake point, you'll be prompt. Do you want to take your design point for stakeout in a different job than your current job? If you go into a stake to line, you'll be prompt. Do you want to take your design point to do your line stakeout? Or since the stake to line can also use a DTM job, you'll be also prompt to possibly select the DTM job you would want to use. But in any app that might require design data, you'll always be prompt to make sure that while you will use the app, the proper data will be used. So that's always one thing. the design data, there's one settings, and I strongly suggest customer to check that settings to minimize confusion working with design data. Okay. Now, again, to create a new job, I rarely use that page right there. I don't want to take the time to scroll, to tap here to create new job. If you want to make a new job, I'll make one for September 3rd. You can go to the job management. New job is right there. But the quickest way, the method I use all the time, I press my function key on my keyboard, and my new job will be right there. I found it's the quickest one. I don't need to go into any other page. I stay in my home screen and I press my function and new job. So, but before I do that, when we create new job, we can pick a coordinate system to use within that specific job. There's one thing I want to make sure everyone is aware of. You should all have the proper coordinate system on your controller, but if you ever have to move into a different region and you're missing a coordinate system in Captivate, if you go in settings and you go under the tools, there's a regional configurator. Okay, you need an internet connection to use it. It's been introduced, I think, around version 8 of Captivate, but that regional configurator, it's going to connect to a cloud. That's why you need to have an internet connection. But this regional configurator will allow you to install coordinate system. So you can select your country. There's a huge list of country. You'll go to USA. You can open it. Then you'll see all the states. So there's some general stuff. It could be code list or style sheet to export for USA general. But if you want to specific coordinate system, I can go to New York, open. And then I can go to coordinate system, open, and then I can say, okay, I need my state plane, open. And now on my controller right now, I deleted all the New York State coordinate system. If I want to install them, I can highlight that TRFSCT file, hit download, look at the status. It's downloading now the coordinate system for New York State. It's done now. I can press OK, back to the home screen. And now, if I do function and make a new job, and I look at coordinate system, and I look at my list, I have all my New York coordinate system. I did not show it to you prior, but I made sure I deleted all of them. But now I have all of my state plane coordinate system. So just one thing for you to remember, your missing coordinate system prior to having that regional configurator, customer will call us to ask us to send them files. Now, if you have an internet connection, you can install state plane coordinate system yourself while in the field. Okay, so now I'll make a new job. I'll call that job September 3rd, 2025. About job creation now. There's one concept not everyone is aware of. It's called site. So for most of you, site is probably left blank. You're not using site. I'll show you what site does. And I'll use a site. You can create new site anytime. You can give it a name. You can have multiple site. You can look at it as job site, you know. So if you go on a job site multiple days in a row, and you're going to create multiple jobs, it might be good to create a site and have your job underneath that site. So in my case here, I'll use the Montreal office to show you what it does. In summary, it's allowing you to filter your job from the job carousel. So that's the main reason for it. So it's for visibility on the job carousel to quickly filter in and out jobs. So that it's another way to filter jobs on the job carousel. So that's what it does really. It's to group jobs together underneath a site name. I'll show you what it does. Then description is facultative. I won't put nothing there. my job, I want to see it in the job carousel. Coordinate system, that's my coordinate system where I am right now. I'll leave it there, but I could change it for my New York if I was in New York somewhere. My code list, I'll use my company code list. Link job. So there's 3 pages here. I want to make sure that everyone understands when we create job, link design data, and reference file. Link job, it's allowing us to link job together. If you work on the same job site multiple days in a row, and you'd like to be able to view on the map screen the progression of your topo, so multiple job can be displayed on the map view, you can link job together. Good example here. If I go to add, I was on that job site September 1st and September 2nd, so I can link those 2 jobs to my September 3rd. So what it means that all the points from September 1st, September 2nd, and September 3rd by today's job will be visible graphically and will be part of what we call a data set. So it's not a job, it's still a job in Captivate, but where you'll see data set, it's all the point from all the jobs that are linked together. Even if job are linked, you'll never store points in a job. Those jobs will only be used to display or to select point for stakeout. Everything that you will store will still be stored in your working job. In my case, September 3rd that I'm creating right now. But those jobs, the points within and points in line from those jobs will be available. So that's for the link job. Link design data. If you're going to use design data like a DTM job and a road design, you could select, and I'll pick my Montreal road. That's a road model in 3D, and I'll pick my Montreal DTM surface that I may want to use in the field. So if I check those boxes to link design data, as soon as I'm going to access an application to do some stakeout, those jobs will be selected for me. I won't have to select them manually. I'll be able to change them if I want, but they will already be selected. And the last and not the least, the reference file. Reference file, it's related to CAD file, okay? So the design data, it's a DTM surface, it's a 3D road model. The link job, those are DBX, Leica DBX job that we can link together. The reference file, look at it as a CAD file. I want to reference a CAD to use in the field as a background. Most popular one, DXF, DWG file, DGN file, or IFC file. So here you can pick a CAD file. I forgot to load my reference file. I'll create my job and I will add it after because it's not in my list. Then, since I'm in total station mode while I'm creating my job, the last page, it's how do you want to scale your TS total station measurement? Do I want to use a scale factor or do I don't want to scale anything? So in my case here, I won't scale anything. It's just like we're just talking today. We're just talking of the data management and some basic of Captivate. But what's important, it's those different page when we create a new job. The reference file, it's for CAD. Design data, it's for DTM or road design. But the link job, it's to link job together. If I'm done and I hit store, I currently have a job. Brand new job. If I click on it, view and edit data, no point on it. It's an empty job. But if I go to the 3D viewer and I do a zoom all, there's already a few things showing in the background. I see a road design, I see my DTM surface, and I see points. So everything I'm seeing there, it's the reason I'm seeing data in my 3D viewer, it's because I have link job and link design data. So that's why I'm seeing all that. Even if it says September 3rd, there's no point in this job, but I selected to use link design data, link job. So the 3D viewer, it's showing me everything related to my job, not just the point within my job. So my job is still empty, but I'm seeing additional information that are linked to my job. Okay. So let me do two things. I want to, in this job, I want to use a reference file, and I also want to import an ASCII file. Those files, they are not currently on my controller. I could use a USB stick, okay? But I'll show you here. If I go into my app and I go to my cloud services and I go to my GeoCloud drive, I can download file. And just on a side note, just quick side note, GeoCloud Drive, if I open this page, this is a web browser. I can access my GeoCloud Drive from anywhere. As long as I have a web browser, I can go log into my GeoCloud Drive account and I see all the folders that I created myself. And I got one MTS Leica Captivate webinar, and I can drag and drop file in that folder. So you see, I can manage my folder, create some project folder. I can also access my GeoCloud Drive with my Windows Explorer. So if you install, there's a desktop application for GeoCloud Drive that once it's installed, you can log in, and currently that's my Windows Explorer, and I have a shortcut for GeoCloud Drive. I see all of my folders using Windows Explorer, and then I can go to MTS Captivate Webinar. I see the file available for me to be used, and I can drag and drop files in this folder also. And I can also access GeoCloud Drive from Leica Infinity directly. Within Leica Infinity, I can import file from the field coming from GeoCloud Drive, or I can send file from Infinity to GeoCloud Drive to be used in the field. So that was just a side note, but in my case, I want to be able to download file. And if I go to download file, I'll see my folders. I can go back, but I see all of my folders that are available for me, but the file I need are in Leica Captivate Webinar. I want those two files. I can hit download and look at the status. So it's downloading them. It's done. I can press OK, and then I can press exit, stay logged in. I'm back to the main menu. So those files were transferred to the internal memory, and now they are ready to be used. So if I click that job September 3rd, and I go back to my job property, and I go back to my reference file, I can add a reference file, and I want to use that Montreal office DXF. So I want to have a DXF file as background. And once I select it, so it can be done as you create the job, or it can be done later. So if I hit store and store, I'm back to the main menu. If I go to 3D viewer, now I have lines underneath, so that's my DXF file. Finally, if I want to import a text file, so I flip my job, import. A side note, most of you might be aware, but there's also an option to import a DXF file. And you don't want to use that option. When you do that, it will import points and lines from the DXF and import those points and lines within your job. So it's not a reference file anymore, and it will populate your job with hundreds of points and lines automatically. So if it was just from me, I would remove that import DXF. We have a better way to work with drawing, and it's using reference file. Because one thing about using reference file, with my settings on the right side, we still have access to the layer from the drawing. So here I only have 2 layers, but the CAD layer, here you would see all of the layers from your CAD, and you can hide layers to only make some specific layer visible for you to use in the field. So that's the beauty of using a DXF or CAD file as a reference file. You're not losing the layers. If there was text on my file, I would be able to read the text. But if you use the option here to import a DXF file, you're losing the text. You're losing the layers because it will import all the points and line and populate your job with hundreds of points and line. It's just more confusing than anything else. We try to avoid doing that. Finally, ASCII file. If I go import data and I want to import an ASCII file, so my ASCII file is in my internal memory right now. I moved it from my GeoCloud drive to my internal memory, and my file is listed right there. So it's already showing me all the file within my internal memory. A good thing that they improved recently, not that long ago within Infinity, you can see an example of your import settings. So you should pay attention to that. Is it point ID northing, easting, height, or point ID easting, northing? If you look at that example and it's not the way your file that you imported is configured, same thing in here. If you want to change your import settings, you press the function key on the keyboard and the F1 settings is right there. And you can review the file I'm importing right now. It's a tab delimited file, and I got my point ID in first, northing, easting in third, and height. So you can customize that at any time to match the imported file. If I press OK, I got 17 points imported, 0 record skip. I can press, do you want to do more? No. I go back to my 3D viewer. Now I got control point. Finally, one last thing that they added in Captivate version 9. From any map view, if you have an internet connection, if you go under the settings and the display settings, so the setting wheel, you got access to the layer for CAD, but you got access to the display settings of what you want to display. On the display settings, you got general setting, display settings, you got point, line and alignment, scans, DTM, background map. Background map, there was some limitation before. Now with version 9, they added a web services and they added the ASCII word imagery, like what we have in Leica Infinity. So if you have Captivate 9 and higher and you look and you change that from web services, you have an internet connection, make sure you see the ASCII word. That's the one I like the most. If it's not there, you can contact us or Brad at MTS and we send you how to load. If you have Captivate 9 and higher, you want that to be available. And then if you use that and press OK, now it's going to automatically, anywhere you are, it's going to populate the background using a live feed, live background image. So that, again, I probably won't work with it, but it's really nice at least to do a quick check that the data I imported, it's in the proper location. So again, it's kind of off in this case here. We can expect it to be off, but we know that, we're not in the middle of the wood, so we know we're in the right location. So settings.
Pierre, I think you can get that web services list in the configurator.
Oh my God, I did not look at it, but you might be right, Brad.
Under USA General.
Okay, if I go again, just what Brad just mentioned, if you go under settings and you go under tools, the regional configuration, and you go under the USA General, and let's look at the choices. It would make sense, I did not look at it, but here you got coordinate system, local app, style sheet, and web service list. That's probably what it is. If I open it, there should be one file underneath and the web service list. You click on it, you download it, and then it will be available for you to be used. So good point, Brad. Thank you for your intervention. So that's another thing, that it's there now. We had a lot of requests in the past and we could load georeference images, but it It was not that user friendly, so not that many customers were using it, but now it's there. You can turn it on and off at any time if you have an internet connection. So that could be quite useful. Okay, job. I just created that job right there. Oh, and one thing you should be aware, if you flip job around, the job on top of your screen, it's the job where you will store your point. So if by mistake I move that job and I go into my measure app, all of the point I will measure will be stored in this job. So that's just something to be careful. One thing you can do to avoid that on a daily basis, as soon as you create a new job, you press the function key on the keyboard and you lock the job in place. So as simple as that. As soon as the job has been created, function, lock, and if you need more freedom for your job carousel, function, unlock. Simple and easy, so you got access to your job carousel. Okay? Okay, so job carousel, job creation, lock. We talk about, let's see now. Next, if I go to the measure app, I think one thing you can see within the measure app, you can see the control point that I currently imported, but you can also see in the background points in gray out. So that's what I wanted, the point that are gray out or point from a different job. The points from the link job. So that's what I was mentioning earlier. If you link job to your working job, you'll see those points in the background. So if you do a large topo and you want to see graphically where you stop yesterday, but you link it, and when you'll go to the topo app, the measure app, you'll see where you left, and then you can keep going. And the point you will measure, if I measure a point right now, if I call that point 7,000 and I take a distance and I store that point, distance. So that point I just store, it's right there, and it's within my current job, September 3rd. If I go to point 7,000, is right there with all the point I just imported from my ASCII file, but there's nothing else. Like point 5,000, I can see it in the background. They are not in my working job. They are into my data set. They are in a, they are within my link job. Okay. One thing I did not mention, it's the hotkey and favorite. On your keyboard, there's a star button, and I used to push the F7 to F12 a lot to configure shortcut. The more I use Captivate, the more I like to use the favorite. It's easy and it's visual. I don't have to remember how I configured my hotkey, because on your controller, F7 to F6, those are hard-coded. You cannot change them. F7 to F12, you can customize them the way you want. And the favorite key. So if I go into my favorite right now, so if you press the star button, those are my favorite right now. And by default in Captivate, if you never change them, the last favorite, the number 9, it's to set hotkey. And I like to leave it there. For me, it's a shortcut. If I need to change my favorite, instead of having to my settings customization and go into my deeper in my settings, I can simply press my star, set hotkey, and then I have a quick access to go to my TS favorite. I still have 6 that is available for me. I can add something. So those are my favorite. When I press the star button, my favorite, you got 9 boxes that you can easily configure to quickly access some functionality. Or you can still configure F7 to F12 to access some, set some functionality, and also function F7 to F12. So you got 12 hotkey plus 9 favorite. And like I said, what I like about the favorite, when you press your star button, those are all visible. You don't have to remember what F10 is doing or F9 is doing. You just click on it, and if I go to view and edit data, I'm right there into my data management of my working job quickly. So I like the favorite, you know. So that's why I like to be able to customize the hotkey and favorite using the favorite button. The long way to get there will be to go under settings, customization, and hotkey and favorite. So 3-click, I'm there. I could have get there just with my favorite button on my keyboard. So, okay. So if I go to a job, so the last thing, you know, before we end this first webinar, it's when you flip a job, you got tools. You can always go back to your job property. If you ever need to change a reference file to add or remove, you can always remove link job at any time if you don't want to see them anymore. You can change the coordinate system if you selected the wrong one. So you always have access to your job property. View and edit data always allow you to view the points and the line and edit any point that you collected. So
hey, Pierre, while you're
yeah.
in view and edit data real quick, could you just mention filtering and then maybe also copying points or groups of points from job to job?
Perfect, exact. I'll do that. So while I'm in my view and edit data right there, it's showing me my points. It's showing me my point within my job. And that's something also we can filter point using different option. And to get to the filter option, and I'll show you the filter option under the export point. But again, you look at the bottom of the screen. If you're not seeing what you're looking for, I'm looking for my filter option for my view management, point management. I don't see filter. You press the function key on your keyboard, and then you got additional functionality. Filter is right there. So filter, let's talk about the point filter. You can also filter line and images. We'll focus for point. First of all, you can sort your point by the newest point first, or the oldest, or by point ID. I like the newest first because if I measure point in the field and I make a mistake and I need to edit a point, the newest measurement point will be on top of my list and already highlighted. So that's the way I like it by default. Filter to show. So this is an important one here. It says highest point class only. Because you all know we can measure the same points multiple times in the field with the same point ID and get an average coordinate. But all those measurements will also be stored in your database. So one point can have multiple measurements on it, but Captivate will only show you the average. So because the default filter to show is set to highest point class only. If I pick all and press OK, if I have average point, I'll just do it quickly just to show at least what it does. If I call it, if I put 7,000 again and I measure a point and now if I go back to my job, now I can see 7,000, 7,000, and 7,000. So if you see multiple times the same point ID, it's because your filter is probably set to all, and then you might have some slightly different coordinate, and it can bring some confusion. Okay, the symbol right there are telling you a little bit about the point class. So those are measure point. This is an average point, and you can press more. You'll see additional information, average, measure. So you can press more a few times to change the display. But that's here. It says all. It's my filter function, filter all. And there's multiple range. I can pick range of point ID. I want to show a point between 5 and 20. Press OK. I don't see 7,000 anymore, and I don't see my point 1 through 4. So you can filter your point. And in the upper right, if you're not sure if a filter is on or not, that green icon on the upper right there, it's telling you that you have a filter. So if you don't see your points and you see that green symbol, it could be that you have a filter. You can filter by time. You can filter by multiple point ID range, by code only. So you got multiple ways you can filter your data, but the default settings should be highest point class. And now it's gray in the upper right. Okay, so that's one thing. If you're looking for points in your job, or as an example, sometimes, you know, if I do go to function filter, and if I pick range of point ID, and I want to show point ID between 100 and 1000, once in a while we get that type of scenario. Customer measured point in the field, they don't see their point in their job. Maybe there's a filter being applied in the back. You know, we see the green symbol right there. So before thinking that we lost point, function, filter, and just put your filter to highest point class only. That should be the default one, and then you might see your point. Okay. So you can filter a point within your job for different purpose. Also, if you click on a job and you go into export data, here you got tools. If you need to copy point between job, okay, you saw what I showed you today. It's pretty easy to use point from a different job anywhere within Captivate. The use to copy point might not be as big as before, but here, if I go here and let's say I want to export data and I want to copy point between job, between this job, from job 3 to job, I'll make a new job and I'll call it like 9/4/2025. Okay, I'll start that job. Okay, and now I want to copy point. If I don't change anything, press OK, it will copy all the points. So if I do function filter, I can see here, I want to copy only the point between 1 and 10. Those are my control point. I don't need any other point. Range of point ID, 1 and 10. Press OK. There was only 7 points between 1 and 10. Do you want to do more? No. So now I'm back to my job here. And if I go to view my point, I see the point that I just copied in this job. If I go to this job, I don't know if you see it, but lower right corner, this is an indication. If I go in and I go to view and exit data, where's my point 7000? Where's my point 20? It's not visible. But right there from that job, here, right there, there's a filter. So I apply a filter to export point to copy point, but the filter is still being used. So when you see that and you don't see your point, go to view and exit data, function filter, and I'll pick all, and I want the newest first, highest point. So now I see all my points, 7,000 within this job, September 3rd. But that icon lower left, it's really useful. If you're not seeing point within the job and you know they are there, it might be because of a filter. And it will be the same if you export your data into an ASCII file. And as an example, I want to export to a USB, in this case, in the data folder, and it will the point from this job, and it will create a file here with txt. And then there's an example. Same thing, the example right there. That's what you will export. Comma delimited, point ID, northing, easting, elevation. If that's not what you want, function, look at your export settings, change them. You can change the delimiter. You can change the order of what you want to export. And you can also look at the filter. Same thing. We can use the same filter settings to export. You know, one that could be useful, it could be time. If in the same job, you work within the same job multiple days in a row, but at the end of every day, you want to export point from the day that you were today's only and not yesterday. So you could use time when you export and filter your point by time to only export today's point into an ASCII file. So that could be one way to use the filter when you export your data. And press OK. Yeah, no more data. Back to the main menu. So I look at the time and I look at, again, what we add on the list. You know, it's it was quick. I had no idea, how much time it will take to go over that. I had in mind 30 minutes or maybe 45. It took a little bit longer. I'm sorry for that, but I hope that it was useful, and that you learn a few tips and tricks. So I don't know, Brad, if you want to add something.
Yeah, thank you, Pierre. No, I don't think it was unavoidable to go over today's time limit. I wanted to make sure we thanked everybody for showing up. We bit off a lot on this one because it's kind of laying the foundation for subsequent webinars that we do. Other webinars are going to be more specific, cover specific applications. Please feel free to talk to your local MTS representative and give an evaluation or a critique of these webinars. Maybe give them some suggestions on what you might want to have covered in future webinars. But what I see happening here is probably doing a webinar on stake and measure and stake out, measure and stake to lines, DTM stakeout, monitoring, all kinds of different specific applications that are extremely useful and helpful, that you may not be aware of that you have. So thanks very much to everybody for attending this first one. We are planning on recording all of these and making them available on our website. Like I said, if you have any questions, contact your local rep, or you could email me or the Leica support line. But thank you again, Pierre, for that. That was fantastic. And thanks everybody for attending.